Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Express. Well, this is a new week and a new episode on what is becoming everyone's favorite talk show. You'll agree with me that it is encouraging, exciting, profound, real, energizing, sensible, and sensitive. This is what Express is all about, and much more. So, without any further delay, please help me welcome back to the stage the beautiful, expressive, talented, and savvy director of Express. She's called Carolyn. Carolyn, take it away.
Do not live in your title. Do not live in your title. Live in the vision. Live in the service to others. Live in the relationship and the work. Our people are suffering. They don't need your title. Some of us who were superintendents, and I'm going to say it, when there was a process put in place by our chancellor said that we're going to make everybody reapply, some people, they live so much in their title, they got mad. Who does he think he is to do this? That was a sense of entitlement because you were living in your title. My question is, I'm serving black educators here. My question is, if you lose the title tomorrow, could you still have the impact? If you lose the title tomorrow, will you still do the work?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my show, Express. Once again, we're here because our show believes that everyone has a story and everyone needs to share their story. In doing so, we'll be able to accomplish our goal, which is to give others hope through testimonials. Our guest today, he is self-employed. He studied at St. John's Fisher's University. He went to Benjamin N. Gordoza High School, which is his alumni associate. He lives in New York, and he's from Queens, New York. He's married. He's a national speaker on issues in urban education. He is the president of Black Influencers United. Let me repeat that. They just shorten it and they say BU. So he's the president of Black Ed Influencers United. That is known as BU. And he's here today to give us his story. So listen keenly while he gives his story. And one other thing, he's a busy man. And we are so flexible. He's driving while he'll be giving his story. So you have no excuse. Call and we will present your story however you can. So I will not say anything else, but the next voice you'll hear will be Dr. Shango Blake in his car driving, giving his testimony.
Thank you for being flexible. I appreciate it. I definitely wanted to have an opportunity to talk with you, Carolyn. You and I go back years,
Yes,
back to
yes.
the time when I was principal of Gene Newsy, IS 109 in Queens Village. And so I'm honored to be here with you to talk to you and talk to your audience and
Yes.
hopefully give a little inspiration by my own personal testimony. Just wanted to, one point of correction, we're Black Edfluencers, not Ed
Okay,
influencers.
great. Make it plain.
So,
Make it plain.
yeah,
Make it plain.
so just how you say influencers, you just say Edfluencers. Black
Okay.
Edfluencers United, BU, an organization I'm very proud of, a group of dedicated educators, parents, community leaders, all in one, under one tent. And our vision is that we serve Black educators, we influence others, we impact Black children. But in at the root of what we are is we are a group of dedicated people that are dedicated to fighting against systemic racism within education. And one might say, well, what do you mean systemic racism? Because some people live in a bubble and they don't think that it exists. But the same way people really didn't understand that there was a pandemic called police brutality and the shooting of unarmed uh, black people in this country. They thought it was isolated incidents until somebody said Black Lives Matter. And so in that same spirit, we know that that there are barriers within education. There are issues that are systemic and not isolated. And so our organization is raising awareness about the plight of black educators, black parents, black children, the plight, the value of black educators and black children, and black parents. And we're raising our perspective and our voice to address issues like achievement gap, to address issues like overrepresentation of black boys in special education, underrepresentation of black children in gifted and talented programs. But from a black perspective, we're unapologetically black in our approach. Too many times there are others that are speaking about our plight that don't come from our community, that don't understand our students from a cultural point of view, from a social and an emotional point of view, um, from a shared experience, shared trauma point of view. So, who more qualified than black educators to speak on behalf of the black community as it relates to what is important for our children, from everything as it relates to the type of schools they go to, the kind of curriculum that they receive. This is the work that we're doing. And I'm so proud that my organization is at the vanguard of bringing forth to New York City for the first time ever a pre-K to 12 Black Studies curriculum that will be implemented in all schools throughout New York City in the 23-24 school year. So very excited about them. I just wanted to kind of start there because my understanding, you correct me if I'm wrong, Carolyn, your program is about inspiring and giving hope, correct?
Exactly, exactly. And that's why we ask you to come along and
Well,
be a guest, because I know that whatever you're going to say is full of inspiration. I'm telling you, let me just stop for 1 minute.
sure.
This man, Dr. Shango Blake, I remember when I used to take my daughter to school. He used to be at the door as the principal for that school, shaking every student's hand before they go in school. I could not believe this. I saw it
Hmm.
once, I saw it twice, and it motivated me because I just wanted to get Crystal to school. I mean, yes, I wanted to get her to school, but I wanted to see that he was still doing this. And I think that really, really left an impression on me because I've never seen that done before. And
Wow,
now,
thank you.
yes, and my daughter loved it too. And she hears me go crazy about you. She said, "Oh, mommy, but she did not realize what that meant to me." Now,
Hmm.
what motivated you to get up every morning? That was like 10, 15 years ago, to shake each student's hand before they come into class.
Love. I love our children, and I wanted them
Yes.
to feel the warmth of the school. And as a leader, I wanted to model that warmth and that love for our children to others. Our
Mm,
children, a lot of times, they again, black and brown children usually have a different experience coming into schools than
yes.
their white counterparts, right? Like
So true. Yes.
a student growing up in Park Slopes, they go as they're approaching school. They may go to the local deli, and the person behind the cash register say, "How you doing in school this morning?" They ask them, you know, uh, and give them a word of encouragement, right? And it continues on along their path to the point where they walk into the building and are received with open arms by the staff. too many times our children are treated in a hostile manner,
Yes.
right? And so they don't feel like school is a warm and welcoming place. And what I wanted to do is just by that simple act, let them know that the leader of this school sees them as valuable, sees them as
Yes.
important, and is concerned about them beyond just, what I'm putting in their minds or teaching them academically, but that I was concerned about them as a whole human being. There's a saying that
Hmm.
goes, you know, we don't you know until we know how much you care. And then there's
Yes.
another saying that goes, it's an African proverb that says that a neglected child will burn down the village just to feel its warmth. So
Wow.
what I wanted to do is to make sure that they felt the warmth when when they approached the school, you know.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
so that's what that was about. And I think that I saw the result of that. Students felt comfortable, but not just students. It's interesting that you said parents. How you felt as a
Yes.
parent. I was
Yes.
able to talk like I was able to stop a lot of problems just by being present in the school in the
Hmm.
morning, uh, shaking those hands. Because parents would come up to me and they would say, "Oh, I had an issue here," or "Could you look into this?" So things before they became a formal process, a lot of
Hmm.
issues were able to be addressed up front and immediately because I was visible. I was seen. They didn't have to make an appointment to see me. They could grab me while they were dropping their child off. And so I wanted to make sure that I never ever was a in the office principal. I was a in the school building, in classrooms, outside of the school building, in the community. I wanted people to have access to me. And to me, as a leader, that's how you create the model for a safe school. Because when
Yes.
you are visible and people have access, you get information and you're able
Hmm.
to address things well
Yes.
before they become a problem. And it's interesting because I started out as just me. And you remember this, it
Yes.
expanded to a group of parents called the Pest.
Oh.
Remember the parents that we had the jackets and it stood for Parents Empowering Students Today, and we created a
Mhm.
5-block safety radius around the school so
Wow.
that students and parents knew that the children had a safe passage coming to and leaving school because there were adults that were monitoring them, looking over them, watching them, making sure that there were no perverts coming near them, no gang initiation things happening. So we understood that the school is part of the community, and we wanted to break down the walls of the school. That's why we went out into the community so that people could see our presence outside of the school to know that this is the community of Queens Village, which IS 109 is a part of, and that was why I did that, um, and the
So,
results were what they were.
yes. So, would you say that most of the people, because of the influence you had in the school, it has helped you to be able to organize this whole, um, what do you call it?
BU,
United, BU. Would you said it would help? It helped because people saw you
absolutely,
from, what you
absolutely,
believed in
absolutely.
then. Hmm.
Absolutely. The
Great.
work that I did there was a building block to that. But even more importantly, the experience that I had at 109. You know that I was attacked
Right.
at 109. I was removed from the educational system. And people didn't understand. Back then, we weren't using words like implicit bias, equity, systemic racism, right? And so,
Hmm.
people don't understand the internal dynamics and the power struggle that happens within education. And this is why, if you listen to where I first started when I talked about BU, we are here to fight against systemic racism within education. I was a recipient of that systemic racism as a black leader coming in and saying that our children deserve a quality education. And I held people's feet to the fire and held them accountable to teaching our children. What people don't understand is that when you do that, um, you put yourself in the crosshairs of those who don't want to teach our children. And you also come in
Mm.
contact with powerful unions that act as the greatest barrier to educational reform. And so there's a political dynamic to creating change that the general public is not aware of. And then when you look at how unions and newspapers and investigative units all work in collaboration, just like banking and redlining and things of that nature, it happens within the
Hmm.
educational system. And so you can
System.
become a
Wow.
target. You can have your character attacked when they cannot um, stop your effectiveness, and you can become marginalized. And so many black educators are faced with one or two choices when they become leaders within of schools. You can either one say take my approach, but you run the risk of receiving the attacks that I received, or you can
Hmm.
go along to get along at the expense of our children. And so BU is not just born out of my success, it's also born out of my struggle. Because
Yes.
understanding that
Yes.
in this day and time, we have a whole new generation of young, dynamic black educators who are educational leaders who are committed to teaching our children, but they are also at risk of receiving the same kind of attack that I did. So I'm the
Yes.
pioneer. The scripture says,
Yes.
"Blessed are those who forge the way for others." Right?
Hmm.
And so I take my experience and built an
Personal.
organization as a collective umbrella of protection for black educators who are involved and engaged in doing that work. And so it's harder to pick off a dynamic, brilliant black educator if they're locked in unity with an agenda
Yes.
for change, and they're singing like a choir, not a solo act. See, when I was doing it, it was me, the
Yes.
soloist. And that's how they were able to
It was easy to.
isolate,
Yes. Hmm.
marginalize,
Hmm.
and destroy. But now that we have BU is the less is reflection of the lesson I learned through my experience, that it's going to take a collective voice, not one voice, a collective voice. And so any educators that are listening, or any parents that are listening, that are really concerned about what happens with our children in education, I represent that inspiration.
Yes.
I represent the removal of fear that cripples black educators and makes them look incompetent because they're afraid of a system that will destroy them if they really want to educate our children. And I also represent that greater is in me than what is in the world, in
Yes.
us that is in the world. We are bigger than any of these departments. We're bigger than any of these institutions. All we have to do is remove the fear and operate
Yes.
fearlessly on behalf of
Yes.
our children, and God will bless us. And that's my testimony, and I hope that provides inspiration to those who are listening today.
Definitely. Definitely. They say, for every setback, there's a comeback. You're definitely a comeback.
Set up,
And you're
setback is a setup for a
for a
comeback.
comeback. Right, 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 right. So you're definitely a comeback, and you're coming back real good, real great. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for stopping
Thank
along
you.
and sharing your inspiration. Whenever you get that book, if you haven't got one yet, please, we would like to talk to
It,
you again. Okay? You have many books to write,
absolutely,
but I know that's not
absolutely.
the most important thing right now, but you're doing what you're doing.
Thank you again for having me. And again, it's a pleasure to reconnect with you. Again, I have fond memories of the work that we did together at
Yes,
109, and I carry those experiences with me, you know, today in the work that I do. That will always have a special place in my heart. So thank you for being the kind of parent you were, Thank you for continuing to educate and inform our community. And thank you for continuing to try to inspire and give hope.
Yes, thank you so much. And my daughter, that's where she got some of her leadership skills from. By you joining her to go to the studio to do recording. You don't know. You just don't know. I guess you forgot, but don't forget. We all remember you in a very high way. All right, then. Thank you so much for stopping. Be careful as you
Thank
go
you so
along.
much.
And thank you so much.
All right, take care.
Good.
Enjoy your
Bye-bye
Sunday.
now. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for stopping by and listening. The thought I want to leave, someone said, don't be afraid to start over. It gives you a chance to build something even bigger. As you heard Dr. Sango's story, couldn't stop him. He's now up and going and promoting his BU company. Thank you so much. About to say goodbye now. Thank you.